السلام عليك زين الأنبياء السلام
بسم الله
عليك.
الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. Alhamdulillah. It is a blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that Allah sent to us His messenger to guide us in every aspect of our lives, and it is the life of the Prophet ﷺ that is the explanation of true guidance. And throughout the life of the Prophet ﷺ, he constantly commanded us to make ta'arrud, to avail ourselves to the auspicious occasions and the amazing opportunities to seek the mercy and the special gifts from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we find ourselves on the anniversary of one of those occasions, which is the Isra and the Mi'raj, which occurred in Rajab. And it is on this journey where the Prophet ﷺ is shown many unseen realities, many subtle, very intricate, beautiful points that we can benefit and reflect on in order for us to follow more fervently on the steps of the Prophet ﷺ. In this journey of the Isra, the Prophet ﷺ is taken by Jibreel alayhi salam through on a journey in which he sees different types of people, and he sees the results of their deeds, either good or bad. And it's this point that we must really reflect on, that even though we may not see it, that every deed that we do has an effect on our hearts. And every single deed, whether it's good or whether it's bad, has some sort of ta'thir, has an effect on the heart, either in purifying it and in illuminating it, or in soiling it and darkening it, or even killing it. May Allah save us from that. So the Prophet ﷺ, as he's journeying, he sees a group of people, right? And he says, "Lahum adfarun min nuhas," that they have nails like claws from iron. "Yakhmushuna fiha wujuhahum," that they are clawing at their faces and their chests. Right? So the Prophet ﷺ, out of his etiquette with Jibreel, he said, "Who are those people, O Jibreel?" And Jibreel said, "هؤلاء الذين يأكلون لحوم الناس ويقعون في أعراضهم," that they are the people who are speaking badly about other people, who are eating the flesh of other people. Right? As we know, that backbiting is given the semblance of eating the flesh of your dead brother in the Quran. Right? وَيَقَعُونَ فِي أَعْرَاضِهِمْ, and they are attacking the honor of others. Right? So we see that the sin of speaking bad about someone, the sin of defaming someone's character, that in this world is very easy to neglect the repercussions for that sin, because there's no immediate outward repercussions that are there in order for one to be wary of doing it. Right? But the repercussions are there in the heart. And the reality of the next life is that which is in the hearts and that which is a hidden reality becomes manifest in the outward and apparent, tangible, perceptible world. So the reality of these people is that they will be clawing at their own skin, at their own faces, and at their own bodies, right? Because of that was the result that happened in their heart and manifest on the Day of Judgment. Right? And the Prophet ﷺ warned us about speaking, right? Warned us to watch out for our tongue. And he said, ﷺ, لا يستقيم إيمان عبد حتى يستقيم قلبه, that the faith of any slave is not going to be upright unless their heart is upright. وَلَا يستقيم قلبه حتى يستقيم لسانه, and their heart will not be upright unless their tongue is upright. Later on, the Prophet ﷺ, he passes by a hole, a small hole, and coming from that hole is a large animal. Then the animal is trying to go back into the hole, right? And it's not able to do so. So the Prophet ﷺ said, what is up with this, O Jibreel? You see an animal coming out of a small hole and then trying to squeeze itself back in, but it cannot do so. Who is this, O Jibreel? Right? The Prophet ﷺ was told, هَذَا الرَّجُلْ مِنْ أُمَّتِكَ, that this is a person from your nation. يَتَكَلَّمُ بِالْكَلِمَةِ الْعَظِيمَةِ, and they said a statement of tremendous import, right? Of tremendous consequence. ثُمَّ يَنْدَمْ, and then they're remorseful for doing so, right? فَلَا يَسْتَطِيعُ أَن يَرُدَّهَا, right? But that remorse is not sufficient enough for them to be able to take it back, right? With remorse after the action, right, does not repel the happening of that action in retrospect, right? So this person, right, is given the similarity of that animal who came out of the small hole but cannot go back in. So once you say that word, you cannot take it back, right? So these are examples from the Prophet ﷺ to be careful of what we speak about, right? To be very careful about what we speak about, because sins between a slave and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the basis of them is mercy, that Allah is the most merciful. But sins that have to do with the rights of other people, the basis of them is justice. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive us for what has transpired, and to protect us from these things and that which is to come. Right? And along this journey, the Prophet ﷺ, he has also shown the results of the beautiful actions of his ummah as well. Right? So we see the example of of Asiyah, the wife of Fir'aun, right? And the Prophet ﷺ, he is traveling with Jibril alayhi salam, and he smells a beautiful fragrance, like the fragrance of paradise. And he asks Jibril that what is this fragrance? And Jibril alayhi salam answers that this is the fragrance from the comb of the daughter of Fir'aun. Right? And the story goes that Asiyah, one of the 4 women who the Prophet ﷺ said had perfect faith, that she was combing the hair of the daughter of Fir'aun, and she dropped the comb. And when she dropped the comb, she said, Bismillah wa ta'isa Fir'aun, right? In the name of Allah, and may Fir'aun perish. So the daughter, she heard this and said, that, do you have any Lord besides my father? Because she said, Bismillah. Right? So she said, Na'am, like, yes, right? Rabbi wa Rabbuka wa Rabbu Abika Allah. Right? That my Lord and your Lord and the Lord of your father is Allah. So the daughter said, Afa ukhbiru abi? Right? Should I then tell my father what you just said? Right? Asya, she said, Na'am, yes, tell him. Right? So look at the absolute thabat, the firmness in faith, the conviction that this woman has. So once Fir'aun is told, right, he mentions to her the consequences of her actions if she does not return from what she said, if she does not take back what she said. And she stayed firm on her faith. And she said to Fir'aun the same thing she said to the daughter, that my Lord and your Lord and the Lord of everyone is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And because of this, Fir'aun, he fills a vessel with oil and boils the oil. And then he threatens to throw in her children and her family one by one before her, so that she can witness this, unless she turns away from her religion. And she said no, and she stayed firm on her religion. And Fir'aun had one child thrown in, and then the next child. And when it came to the final child, the riqqah, the softness of the mother's heart for the child was stirred up, and the mother started to feel remorse for the situation. Right? But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala inspired the child to speak, right? And the child said to the mother, right, Qa'i wa la taqa'asi, fall in the fire, no problem, but don't delay, right? Don't seek to be saved from this outward punishment, right? Qa'i wa la taqa'asi, fall in, but don't delay, fa innaki 'ala al-haq, because you are on the truth. So Fir'aun threw the baby in, right? And then threw the mother in, and the Prophet ﷺ is shown on the Isra, the smell of that comb which started this story, right? As a signifier of the beautiful faith and the absolute certainty for this woman's actions in this world. Now those actions, the outward results of those actions were not necessarily visible, right, at that moment, but they are manifest on the Day of Judgment, and shown to the Prophet ﷺ and related to us through the Prophet ﷺ, so that we understand the great importance of that type of action, that faith, that conviction, and that we can follow these types of people. Right? And ultimately, the leader of all these types of people, the leader of the people of conviction, is the Prophet ﷺ. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in these great days, in this blessed month, the sacred month, that we are blessed to be able to take advantage of this time, and to be able to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in such a way that we avail ourselves of His special mercies that He gives in these times, and that we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless us in Rajab and Sha'ban, and to allow us to reach Ramadan in the best of states. Wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.